along to another edition of This Kranji Life, and in this episode I'm going to go behind the scenes of James Peters, the young British trainer here at the Singapore Turf Club, and find out a little bit more about both him, his horses and also his staff at Hardwicke Racing, and certainly a young man with big ambitions to certainly further his career and get some of those winners at the very top level. James Peters, we've had a good look at the yard this morning. Many thanks for inviting us round. Just over 3 years now since you got your licence in its entirety under your own name. A lot's happened since then.
Yeah. It's actually flown by those 3 years, really. But we've had decent success. If you'd said after 3 years you'd have trained over 100 winners, 3 or 4 group winners, I would have definitely have taken it. So I'm happy with how things are going at the moment.
Yeah, and you mentioned that obviously the group winners has been 3 in that time. It wasn't long before you got your first one. Talk us through that. Obviously, that was a big moment in your career.
Yeah, well, I was very lucky when I took over that I inherited some very nice horses from Michael Freedman. Titanium was my first group winner. He won the Stewards Cup. Always a very high-class horse, not always the easiest. But on his day he was very good, and it was a huge thrill.
One of your other group winners as well, Spanish Bay. It must fill you with a nice bit of satisfaction to see him now in his new job, because he's a clerk of the course pony.
Yeah, we still get to see him every day. We go and I see him at the races, and he's really enjoying his new life. We try and get these horses after their racing careers finished as good a home as possible, and I think he'll really enjoy that. He was a great horse, not only for me but for, again, Michael Freedman won a 3-year-old sprint, I think, one of those races with him. Maybe the 1400
for you, didn't he? Yeah.
And then I won the Sus fee with him over 1400. He was a good 1400 metre horse. Wasn't quite quick enough for the sprints up at that top end, and didn't quite stay a mile, but that 7 furlongs just really seemed to suit him well, and he was definitely a very nice horse.
Certainly was. And if we just go back to the start, James, obviously you took over from Michael Freedman. For a long time you had sort of a big responsibility. You travelled horses overseas as well. How much did that fast track your progression to becoming a trainer, or was that ever the case that you wanted to be a trainer?
It never really had any aspirations to become a trainer, but I'm never happy just being, staying in one spot. You always want to achieve more and get further and further up the ladder. And when I came to Singapore, originally it was just as a track rider. But over time, working with Michael, I became his assistant, and we had great success for 5 or 6 years. A lot of good winners, high-class horses, always quality horses, always competitive in the Group 1s, won a lot of races, Super Easy, Super 1, a lot of really good horses. And I was pretty much in the right place at the right time. Michael was keen to move back to Sydney, and it was just really the next step, I suppose. And it was a big decision because it's a huge commitment. I was taking over a business, running a stable. You've got to now I had to worry about paying staff and like it is quite a big responsibility, and it wasn't just a decision that I made quickly. I did think about it because I had the opportunity to go back to Sydney and stay with Michael and help him there and just be in that assistance role, but I thought it's a once in a lifetime sort of opportunity. It doesn't come around very often to be handed a nice string of horses with some of the best owners in Singapore, I thought we'll have a go and have a crack, and so far it's sort of paid off, and we're going okay.
Yeah, most definitely. But what did you think when you first arrived, James? Obviously, you've got plenty of experience. Obviously, you're a Brit, obviously from birth, and you would have worked there in plenty of good stables. The late John Hills being one of them. What was your first impression of the Singapore Turf Club and Singapore on a whole, basically?
Well, I was getting away from the cold weather in England, to be honest. The winters were just so long, and I wanted to get to a warmer climate, that's for sure. And that's the first thing you notice here. It's so hot and humid. Obviously, in England, you don't train on the track. You're on farms and facilities like that. So it was completely different, a completely different way of training. You're on horses for an hour and a bit in England, whereas you're on and off a lot quicker here. You can get 6 or 7 ridden in a morning per rider, and just a completely different way of training. It was good to see. You need to see the different way things are done, and to be honest, I don't think I'd do it any other way. I don't think I could go back to that European style. I quite like how we do things here, and the facilities are better than anywhere in the world, I would say, or compete with anywhere in the world. We've got a great vet department. We've got 6 or 7 training tracks to use, swimming pools, and air-conditioned stables. It's perfect for us, really.
Yeah, indeed. And you mentioned obviously the facilities. Obviously, with that then comes the team as well. You seem to have a good team here, guys with plenty of experience. I mean, Mick Lockett is one that stands out. Zairi, your assistant trainer. You were telling me earlier on they've been with you for a long time through that Michael Friedman period.
Yeah, they've been. I've worked with Zairi for all the time I've been here, and Rosalie, who does my senior member of staff, does my treadmill and things like that, and got a good group of staff. That's what you need, and we've had some not so good ones as well, but you can sort of, we've got it down to a good team now, and I'm happy with how that is. Mick's obviously an integral part. He does a lot of the feeding. He's been in racing probably longer than I've been alive, I think, but so he always gives me some advice and helps me out along the way, and you can't do it on your own. You don't do this job on your own. You need to have everyone involved. You've got Nicola in the office helping me out, and we've got a good team of farriers. Paul the farriers, he's a crucial part of the team. We have to all work together, and at the moment very happy with how that is, because sometimes it's not always that way, and you do have a couple of bad eggs that upset the whole team. But at the moment it seems like we've got a cohesiveness and a team that are happy to work together, and that's important.
It's a big trust thing, I guess, isn't it? Because I mean, given where we are situated in Singapore, you're forever sales in New Zealand or Australia, and that might be weeks on end potentially. So having guys back here that can just keep the ship afloat must obviously be paramount.
Yeah, we've got a good routine. I obviously trust Zairi and Mick to run things as if I'm here. Things shouldn't really change whether I'm here or not. And they seem to do a good job. I was away at Sydney the other day, and I came back on the Friday morning, and we had 2 winners that evening. So you sort of know that things are being done properly at home, which is always gives you a peace of mind when you are away. And I'm always on the phone checking in the evenings and just making sure the work list is right and things like that. And in Singapore, really, you do get into a bit of a routine with racing. Friday, Sunday, everyone knows what Monday we do this work, Tuesday we get up for Friday, Wednesday we get up for Sunday. So everyone sort of gets into that routine, and everyone knows where we are, really. So it does help when you do have that routine in place. Yeah,
for sure, and it seems to be a good morale and a good vibe in the yard as well. James, are you someone that's very driven? You sort of, sometimes I think you strike me sometimes as maybe someone that's very driven and obviously very passionate about the game. What is it that makes you tick? Is it winners ultimately, I guess, or winners at maybe a certain level? Or
I think any winner, you always want to have winners. He's whacking away. If you can get those better quality winners, then that's always a bonus. But it's a very difficult job when you're not, and it's frustrating. It does get you down, and Singapore is a little bit of a goldfish bowl type of environment where you sort of can't see outside this little world that you're in here, and if you are having a bad run, you feel like all the eyes of Singapore are sort of on you and watching how you're going, and it can get frustrating and tough, and the racing's so competitive, and we've got so many good trainers up here, and it's difficult to win races, you know. So every time we have one, it obviously helps, and that you say we have a good morale. It's sometimes when you've had 3 or 4 weeks without a winner, it can be. There's not so many smiling faces around here, because I get a little bit upset, and Mick gets upset, and it's just because we want to have winners, and we want to have success. We don't get out of bed in the morning to come and run second, if you know what I mean. We do this to be successful, and yeah.
And you've got some nice horses in the stable. You've had plenty of nice horses in the stable as well. I guess there's always that transition period. Some will go. The likes of Wimbledon, I think, have left you now, and you've obviously got to try and replace them. But just quickly on a couple of nice horses we've seen recently, I thought Siam Warrior, he looks like a nice acquisition to your stable.
Yeah. He was bought out of Darley at the dispersal sale at Gold Coast. He was a little bit exposed. He had 14 starts, but had a nice level of form, which we thought would translate well here to Singapore. And he's managed to win first up. He's obviously in a tougher grade now, but I think he's the type of horse that can progress. I'm not sure how far he'll go, but he'll definitely be competitive in that Class 3 level for sure. So, and who knows, he could go further. I'm quite excited about a horse called Grand Kunta, China Horse Club horse. They've been big supporters of mine, and he was in Europe. He was racing for Clive Cox, trained him over there, and I think they must have had some high expectations, because he ran a couple of group races, but he's come over here and done very well, and hopefully he can be a horse that can take the next step and go through his grades as well.
Yeah, we saw some lovely looking 2-year-olds as well, James. We had a look at them go up the hill track. I guess as well, obviously it isn't all about the 3-year-olds and the older horses. You strike me again as somebody that perhaps likes to nurture these young horses, and you seem to take a lot of pride in them, and they look a nice bunch.
Yeah, I've actually had quite a good record with 2-year-olds. I quite
Mr.
like
Hanks
Mr. Hanks won a group race with a 2-year-old, and I've had a couple of first time out 2-year-old winners. So I quite like training 2-year-olds. Yeah, they seem like quite a nice bunch. We bought a couple of these at NZB. They're ready to run, and one at the Gold Coast ready to run. We could always do with more. You need to replace these horses that are leaving, and it's just getting harder and harder to do. They don't have such a longevity as they maybe would somewhere else. We seem to have quite a turnover of horses, and you do need that new fresh blood into the stables. Some of these horses get stuck in their handicap marks, and they're hard to win with, and you always need those fresh new horses coming in. So we've got we've got 4 2-year-olds at the minute, and a couple of other unraced ones. So hopefully we can get them to the track pretty soon.
And James, you've had a lot of obviously big winners, as we've spoken about. You've had a lot of memorable. Maybe you had a 4-timer, and obviously you got quickly to sort of numbers like 50 and beyond there. So far in your career, obviously, I'm sure it's going to have a lot more longevity. What's given you the most satisfaction today?
The 4-timer was good. Obviously, the first group winner was. It was a surprise. It was a big price, and I wasn't really expecting. I think one of the best days was Gold Cup Day, like our biggest race day here. I had a treble on Gold Cup Day, a couple of Class 1 winner, I think, and a couple of other winners on the day. And to have our biggest race day, to have 3 winners on our biggest race day, that was quite a thrill. But hopefully, I'm looking for that Group 1 winner. That's what that'll be the next target. Try and find a horse that we can be competitive in these Group 1 races.
And is that the ultimate, the Group 1? James Peters, Group 1, well, would that really cement?
I think that sounds better, doesn't it, than just Group winner. We want to be Group 1 winner. So, but as I said, it's very tough to get those top class horses. I don't think we've got one of those in the stable at the moment, but you never know. One of these young horses could be the next star. So that's why we go to the sales every year and trying to get these horses in the stable, because you never know when you're going to get the next good one. But yeah, Group 1 winner would be nice.
And if I had to give you free rein and pick any one of the Group 1s, which one would it be?
Well, apart from the Kranji Mile is the obvious one, that's like the international Group 1, but Derby would be pretty nice. I think Derby's quite big in an important race in England, and to be a Group 1 Derby winner, even if it's in Singapore, would be quite an achievement.
That's about all we've got time for here on This Kranji Life for this episode. I do hope you've enjoyed the show, and many thanks to everyone that's made it possible, and a big thank you to James Peters and all of his team. Do hope you can join us next time. From myself here at Kranji, it's goodbye for now.